Michigan. As always, we have a lot of great music ready for you to enjoy. And this afternoon, we have an extra treat in store for you as we share the stage with our special guests, the Genesee Wind Symphony. We will open the concert together, after which the symphony will perform their part of the program. And then to close out the first half, the MCB will return for 3 selections, including our Sousa March of the Day. Now, after intermission, the MCB will take the stage, and we are going to perform Robert W. Smith's symphony, The Divine Comedy, in its entirety. Now, before we start the music, I need your help with 2 things. First of all, if you have not already done so, please silence your cell phones. And second, and most importantly, would you please join me in welcoming to the stage the director of the Genesee Wind Symphony, Mr. Doug Birch. Ladies and gentlemen, to honor America, would you please rise and join in singing our national anthem? Those of you that regularly attend our concerts know that from time to time we like to bring on guest performers for you to enjoy. And today we are reviving a relationship that last brought the Midland Concert Band and the Genesee Wind Symphony together in February of 1988. That's a long time ago. But over 35 years later, we are ever so happy to once again include them in our program. One of 4 concert bands in the greater Flint area, the Genesee Wind Symphony was founded in 1981 as an outlet for outstanding musicians to refine their craft. The GWS makes its home in the Swartz Creek Performing Arts Center, where it performs an annual 5-concert series from October through April. Ladies and gentlemen, now would you officially join me in welcoming to the stage the Genesee Wind Symphony and their director, Mr. Doug Birch.
Thank you so much for that warm reception of the Genesee Wind Symphony here in Midland. We're delighted to be here with you this afternoon, and we send sincere thank you to the Midland Concert Band and the staff here at the Midland Center for the Arts for inviting us to be part of this performance this afternoon. This is the Genesee Wind Symphony, as they said in the opening announcements, founded 43 years ago on the campus of the University of Michigan Flint by then Director of Bands at University of Michigan Flint, A. Raymond Roth, a position that I now hold at the university. This group rehearses about 4 or 5 times before every performance, and as was stated, it was an outlet for accomplished musicians. That was the premise of the organization, for accomplished musicians to come and hone in their craft on wind band music. In fact, in its early days, it was known as Flint's Other Symphony. We do make our home in the Swartz Creek Performing Arts Center, and you'll see in your program that we had here, our entire season is laid out for you. We're playing tomorrow night, in fact, our opening concert of our 43rd season. The piece that we opened with, Danzon No. 2, was originally written for orchestra, and that was a fine transcription and got us an opportunity to feature a lot of our soloists and a great way to start the concert. And I'm indebted to my colleague at the University of Michigan Flint, Gabriela Ristova, who came in and played piano for us. So we really appreciate her efforts on that as well to help us. Next, we're going to have a little fun, so we're giving you just a sample of our program tomorrow night. This is a circus march that features xylophones. Circus Humberto is its title. And I think you're going to really be impressed with our 4 xylophonists here out front as the soloists, and it's just a lot of fun to put together. So a little bit lighter than what you just heard. This is Circus Humberto. Our last selection on this shared program this afternoon for you is by band composer Alfred Reed. And if you've played in the school bands or have probably been to even a Midland Concert Band concert, you've heard your share of Alfred Reed music. This is one of his later works written in 1985 on a commission from the 581st Air Force Band and its commander, Lieutenant Colonel Ray Toller. It was composed during the latter part of 1984, so go Tigers, World Series, but 1985 is when it received its official premiere. Since then, it has become, as much of Reed's music has, a staple in the band repertoire. It's based loosely around two traditional Spanish themes, a kind of a fandango and a flamenco guitar part, although given the symphonic treatment, it would be hard for you to try to find a single guitar player in the middle of this masterwork. Its first public performance was on April 15th, 1985 in Sarasota, Florida, with the Lieutenant Colonel Ray Toller conducting the 581st United States Air Force Band. So we're going to close our portion today with a wonderful Latin fantasy titled El Camino Real.
Today's program is a little different than normal, as you can tell. So while the band is getting settled, I want to take care of some business that we usually cover before our final selection. As always, thanks to each and every one of you for coming out to support us. As we tell you at every performance, those of us on the stage are here strictly for the fun of it. And believe me, we've had a lot of fun already, and there's a lot more to come after intermission. We simply love to play, and having an appreciative audience as you have been today only adds to the enjoyment that we receive through this wonderful thing we know as music. Special thank yous are in order today to our guests, the Genesee Wind Symphony and their director, Mr. Doug Birch. Thanks also to our ushers, our stage crew here at the center, and all those other people who work behind the scenes. Special thanks as well to the crew from MCTV for their fine work recording, producing, and broadcasting our performances. And a very special thank you is in order today for our concert sponsors, Tom Kuhn and Jennifer Kozat. We truly appreciate your support. We also want to thank our wonderful pianist, Catherine McMichael, who will be joining us later in the program, as well as percussionists Jared Weller-Jones, Ryan Winters, Aaron O'Connell, and Nathan Ing for helping us out today. Also, I'll mention that percussionist Dave Latondras is missing in the program, but he is definitely here on stage. Finally now, we invite you to come and see us again at 3:00 p.m. on December 10th, right here at the center, for our annual holiday concert. We're going to celebrate the season with your favorite songs and carols, and I'm sure we'll have a visit from that jolly old elf in the red suit. Now we're going to lead off our part of today's concert with our Sousa March of the Day. It's titled Nobles of the Mystic Shrine. Published in 1923, this concert-oriented march celebrates Sousa's membership in the ancient Arabic order of the Nobles of the Mystic Shrine, otherwise known as the Shriners. His local chapter hosted the National Convention in 1923 in Washington, and Sousa conducted a band of 6,200 members. It's the largest group he ever conducted. Contemporary versions of the Janissary Band, which is the Turkish Royal Bodyguards, are a vital part of colorful Shriner marching units today. And this march was intended to recreate the musical style of this Turkish music. Ladies and gentlemen, would you now welcome to the stage the director of the Midland Concert Band, Mr. Joel Wiseman.
So I get the pleasure of introducing this next piece. We were talking about giving me a chance to step out and talk just a little bit. I like to do that in every concert. And it was mentioned that this would be a really neat one for me to introduce, not because this piece has a massive story behind it. It just has a connection with me. That connection is that The Wizard of Oz meets the Pink Panther. It matches my personality. So, like I try to do with all concerts, I try to program just a little bit of everything into a concert, and it didn't escape me that in just a couple of days, there's going to be a lot of choices being made. Which costume? Do I stuff an extra costume into the bottom of the bag, make it around the block once, change that costume? Kids, this is a tip. Okay, use it, it works. So, along with those decisions came the decision that I made to program this piece. Pink Panther meets the Wizard of Oz. You don't get any more silly than that. I'm a silly person. But also, it's a really neat way for us to kind of connect with the season, let our hair down just a little bit, and have some fun. So we really hope you enjoy the Midland Concert Band as we relax a little bit and have fun with combining these two very different tunes.
The Greatest Showman is a 2017 American musical film. It was directed by Michael Gracie. That was his directorial debut. It was written by Jenny Bix and Bill Condon. And if you've seen the movie, you know that it stars Hugh Jackman, Zac Efron, Michelle Williams, Rebecca Ferguson, and Zendaya. The film was inspired by the story of P.T. Barnum and how he created the Barnum and Bailey Circus. And it also talks about the lives of his star attractions. One reviewer said, "Step right up and into the spellbinding imagination of a man who set out to reveal that life itself can be the most thrilling show of all. Inspired by the legend and ambitions of America's original pop culture impresario, P.T. Barnum, comes an inspirational rags-to-riches tale of a brash dreamer who rose from nothing to prove that anything you can envision is possible, and that everyone, no matter how invisible, has a stupendous story worthy of a world-class spectacle. Audiences have loved this film, and the music was a huge part of its enormous appeal. From the powerful soundtrack, arranger Paul Murtha has put together a dramatic and exciting medley for the concert stage that we know you're going to enjoy. Included are The Greatest Show, A Million Dreams, Never Enough, This Is Me, and From Now On. And we had actually thought about asking Hugh Jackman to join us here this afternoon, but it turns out he just wasn't available. No worries, though. We'll be featuring our own Mr. David Selly on the vocals for From Now On. Selections from The Greatest Showman. Now, following this selection, we will take a 15-minute intermission.
promise tonight. Let this promise give me start, like an anthem in my heart. From now on, from now on, from now on. And we will come back home, and we will come back home. And we will come back home, and we will come back
Ladies and gentlemen, would you once again please join me in welcoming to the stage the director of the Midland Concert Band, Mr. Joel Wiseman. In the wind band community, the name Robert W. Smith is instantly recognized. A prolific composer, Smith published more than 600 works over the last 25 years, of which about 20 have been played by the Midland Concert Band. Like many musicians around the world, we were saddened to hear of his untimely passing on September 21st due to complications following heart surgery. Among his many works are 3 symphonies, and this afternoon it is our privilege to perform to you his Symphony Number 1, titled The Divine Comedy. Now, as many of you may know, The Divine Comedy is an Italian narrative poem by Dante Alighieri. And although the word comedy appears in the title, believe me, there is nothing funny or even remotely humorous in this poem. The ancient Greeks and Romans confined their use of the word comedy to describe stage plays, but they had to have a happy ending. Well, by the Middle Ages, that term had expanded to include narrative poems, also with happy endings. So it's in this sense that Dante uses the title comedy. The word did not become synonymous with humor until much later. Begun in 1308 and completed around 1321, shortly before the author's death, The Divine Comedy is considered the preeminent work in Italian literature and one of the greatest works in world literature. Now, it tells the tale of Dante's imaginary journey through what some Christians believe is hell, purgatory, and finally heaven. In his story, Dante is seeking out his recently deceased beloved, named Beatrice. He is guided by the ghost of the long-dead Roman poet, Virgil. And the poem's imaginative version of the afterlife is really representative of the medieval worldview as it existed in the Western Church in the early 14th century. That's some 700 years ago, and 200 years before the Protestant Reformation marked the end of the Middle Ages. Like Dante, Robert W. Smith's musical picture starts in the inferno, in hell. Then we climb to purgatory, and in that ascension, we finally reach paradise. The accompanying narration is adapted from a translation of Dante's work. Ladies and gentlemen, Symphony No. 1, The Divine Comedy by Robert W. Smith. The date, Good Friday, 1300. I am lost. All I see is dark forest surrounding me. Beasts pursue me. How did I get here? Why am I here? Am I dreaming? Who is this I see? The ghost of Virgil stands before me. Come with me, Dante, he beckons. Come with me. I find myself at the gates of Inferno. All 7 circles of hell are ablaze with the cries of the wretched and the damned. Their cries drown out my senses. And above the gates of hell reads the following words: "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here." I enter the ante inferno, the outlying region where the souls of the neither good nor bad spend eternity, chasing after a blank banner, tormented by hornets and worms. The ferryman, Charon, takes me now across the river Archeon to the true border of hell. Level by level we descend, deeper and deeper into the bowels of Inferno. I see firstly the pagans who died without knowing Christ. I see the perverse and those who succumbed to lust. I see gluttons enduring a reign of filth and excrement. I see the avaricious and the prodigal. Finally, I arrive at the river Styx, a fetid cesspool within which the wrathful and the sullen are condemned, choking on its mud for eternity. Finally, the 7th circle of hell greets me, a river of boiling blood for the violent and suicidal. I see those who were violent towards God, who were violent towards nature, who were violent towards art on a desert of burning sand. I see him in the flesh, Lucifer, the devil himself. I leave the nightmares of Inferno behind as I am brought to the base of Mount Purgatorio. My companion and I are guided by an angel to Purgatory. I must now climb Mount Purgatorio with the other penitent souls, learning and cleansing myself of sin in preparation for paradise. Seven P's are carved upon my forehead. 7 terraces lie before me, and 7 deadly sins for which to repent. I muster all the strength I can find and drag my feet forward. 7 deadly sins: pride, envy, wrath, sloth, greed, gluttony, lust. Passing each of the terraces, the angels erase one by one the letters on my forehead, until I have finally washed clean of sin. I am ready for paradise. I find myself looking into the glory of earthly paradise. The top of Mount Purgatorio. My beloved Beatrice appears before me, her boundless beauty magnified by her grief her early passing had given me. Virgil, my faithful guide and companion, has disappeared. Reunited with my beloved, we are ready to ascend to paradise. Heaven, paradise, hope, the souls of the blessed, the points of light in heaven, happiness, illuminating my ascension across the 10 heavens. Starting from the sphere of the moon to the sphere of Mercury, to the sphere of Venus, to the sphere of the sun, to the sphere of Mars, to the sphere of Jupiter, to the sphere of Saturn, to the sphere of the fixed stars, to Prima Mobile, and finally, the Imperium. How magnificent the glory of our God! How beautiful His creation! At the end of it all, I set my gaze upon Mother Mary, while Saint Bernard prays that I may look upon God in all His splendor. Holy Trinity. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. I am home. After a piece like that, there's one way to end this concert.